华尔街有这一位神奇的人物，他从1980年代的华尔街研究员，到今天管超过50亿美元的创新主题 ETF 的基金公司，他就是方舟投资创办人 Cathie Wood 木头姐。他凭借着逆势布局闯出了女股神或女版巴菲特的名号。他生于1955年呢，先后呢在 Jennison Associates 跟很多其他的投行任职。2014年呢，自掏腰包创立了 ARK 方舟基金，主打要找破坏式的创新，在这男性主导的金融丛林里面呢，开辟了一条新的路。那在2020年疫情爆发时，美国举债量化宽松，有许多热钱回流股市，方舟的股票也年涨超过 150%。 他投过最让他声名大噪的一间公司呢，也就是现在颠覆纯电车市场的特斯拉，可以说是一个冒险与智慧并进的投资人。那我们今天呢，就来一起看他的故事。Hello， 大家欢迎回到币圈菜篮，我是易阳。我们频道呢专门做加密货币、区块链相关的影片，所以如果你对这类型的影片呢有兴趣，欢迎在底下按下订阅吧。那如果你是我们的观众，有在关注加密货币的，那你或多或少也应该有听过木头姐的名声。她在2015年的时候关注比特币，2024年的时候也用他们的基金推出了这个现货比特币 ETF。那今年呢，更把比特币在2030年的牛市目标价上调到150万美元。那我觉得这个部分呢，大家就先听听好了因为他就长期以来在比特币是一个多头嘛。那虽然有一定的道理，但你要知道这个加密货币投资的风险还是比较大，在投资前呢要自己做好功课。一路从上一个牛市经历了熊市到现在的新牛市，再从科技股到比特币， Cathie Wood 呢，木头姐，她以坚定的信念跟视野证明呢，女性呢也能够在这样的高波动市场写下传奇。那废话不多说，我们一起来看看这个纪录片吧。
Los Angeles is on the rise to become the second biggest city in America. People are moving to LA at a rate of 3,000 a month. Cathie Wood's parents are one of them. They immigrated to LA during the booming 50s from Ireland. Wood's father serves in the U.S. Air Force as a radar engineer. Due to the constant change of deployment locations, Cathie's family regularly moves around the United States.
This really exposes her to different ideas, different people, and also makes her very adaptive to change.
Cathie Wood graduated top of her high school and was accepted by the University of California.
Having been born the child of immigrants in the United States, I was very fearful as I went into college that, I was the oldest and I had to carry the mantle for the family. And so I approached it with a great bit of trepidation.
Like most of the middle-class families in the rough 70s, Wood's family struggled financially.
A statewide jobless rate of 9.3% has jammed local unemployment offices. In terms of people, some 920,000 Californians are now out of work.
She has to work part-time to pay for her tuition. And like her father, Cathie aspires to pursue a career in science or technology. But he advised against it, as he believes that his daughter will be better off being a businesswoman. Then Wood decides to pursue economics and finance, hoping one day to provide her family with more financial support. In college, she studied under the acclaimed economist Arthur Laffer. Laffer was famous for his theory on maximizing tax revenue.
There are two tax rates that give the same amount of revenue. There's a high tax rate and a low tax rate. No country should ever want to be in that high tax rate range. I mean, why would you ever want a tax at this point where if you lowered tax rates, you collected more money and you have more output, employment, and production? So this is the Laffer curve, which really brings together the debate about taxes.
He was my mentor at USC, University of Southern California, and he's a very well-known economist, Austrian school, he's been a wonderful mentor.
Intelligent and hardworking, Cathie Wood becomes the top student in her school. Laffer sees the immense potential in this unassuming girl and finds her a lucrative job after graduation. Cathie became the assistant economist for Capital Group, one of the largest investment companies in the early 1980s, with assets over tens of billions of dollars. Cathie Wood's career is taking off, but then after 3 years, she is scooped up by another investment company in New York as chief economist. She is just barely 25. Jennison Associates was a young investment company at the time. As their chief economist, Cathie Wood is facing the U.S. economy at a tipping point.
I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interest of the United States.
The 70s were among the worst decades for the U.S. economy.
And by the time the 70s ended, it was a total mess.
Prices went up infamously during the Carter presidency.
Inflation was increasing and unemployment was increasing at the same time. That wasn't supposed to happen.
Inflation hits everybody. Unemployment, even at its worst, hits only about 10% of the population at any one time. And so the public shifted its concern from unemployment to inflation in a massive way.
By 1980, all of that was about to change.
I want to work in Washington to roll back the crushing burden of taxation that limits investment, production, and the generation of real wealth for our people. A job and savings and hope for our children is part of that dream.
At that time, Reagan's economic policy wasn't really tested, and the market was very wary of it, and many people believed that Reagan would collapse the economy for good.
But Cathie Wood thinks otherwise. As an investment firm, Jennison regularly invites economists to lecture their employees about inflation and interest rates.
We must put into place rules for financial behavior for private sector.
Nicknamed Dr. Doom, Henry Kaufman was the chief economist at Salomon Brothers. Critical of the Reagan administration, Henry Kaufman warned in 1981 that the president's economic policies would drive interest rates and the dollar sky high. After a thorough analysis of her data, she finds evidence contradicting Kaufman's claim.
And that's where I learned about, wow, if everyone is going in that direction, and back then it was inflation and interest rates are embedded in the system at a double-digit rate. This is the early 80s.
Right.
And someone dares to go the opposite way after those who had gone the opposite way had been bludgeoned.
Wood challenges him by arguing that interest rates have peaked and may even go down. But being a young woman in finance in the early 80s, she was easily dismissed.
It's obvious that Cathie Wood was a constant underdog, even from the very beginning.
By October 1982, inflation has fallen to 5% and long-run interest rates began to decline. The Fed allowed the federal funds rate to fall back to 9%.
We've been really, really busy. We were swamped at the beginning of the week, and business has been great all the way along.
As America rises from the 70s economic slump, Cathie Wood's career is reaching a new height. She rises through the ranks, soon becoming the managing director for Jennison. At 54, Cathie Wood has made more money than 99.9% of Americans, enough to retire for life.
All the 20-year-olds are jumping into this game, and meanwhile, all the 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds are more likely to win it because they have context.
Mm-hmm. A woman of deep faith, Wood realizes that she must continue to serve God by bringing about the future that God wanted. This time, she is determined to answer to no one except God himself.
Been in the financial industry, and after the tech and telecom bust, and then even more so after 08, 09, I began to see just incredible risk aversion, career risk, business risk, and everybody was worshiping the almighty index benchmarks. And that was not consistent with what we were doing at all.
Cathie Wood dreams about building a new type of ETFs that don't yet exist in the market.
Cathie Wood is definitely an idealistic woman whose confidence is very contagious. If you think about it, what's a stock price if it's not a symbol of confidence? She has this confidence because she believes that she is divinely inspired.
While it is inspiring to dream, Cathie's faith is about to be tested.
Many other people thought we were going to fail, but I just didn't believe that. And one of the reasons people thought we were going to fail is here we chose a wrapper that was dominated by passive portfolios and put an active strategy in there. And people thought that was crazy.
While Cathie Wood has done thorough research on her investment ideas, her fund sees virtually no tractions.
After 2.5 years of no traction, effectively, I began to say, wow, was that a bad move?
Without enough capital, she struggles to bring her dream into reality. That changes when an unexpected investor comes calling.
Bill Huang flew a little too close to the sun by taking on an insatiable amount of risk.
Before his catastrophic blowup, Huang was at the top of the hedge fund game. Huang was the protege to the famous investor, Julian Robertson, who gave Huang $25 million to start his hedge fund in 2000. In less than 20 years, Huang built his hedge fund to have $30 billion of assets.
You know, we see how God is leading the whole world, you know, and human race through these companies.
As a devout Christian himself, Huang sees Cathie Wood to be someone he can lift up, and also as someone that will make him even wealthier. He decides to provide the seed money to all of her ETFs. Huang's funding gave Cathie Wood a boost of confidence. But to actually succeed, she will need to find a way to stand out. After the housing crisis of 2008, people's confidence in active management has nearly vanished.
As you know, indexing has continued to perform really well against a broad base of active managers. What I would say is high-cost active management is essentially dead as a practice.
By 2019, index funds have more assets than all the active funds.
But imagine a world where everyone is putting money passively in everything. How will our financial system even function?
Cathie Wood thinks she can do better.
So our analysts, they have domain expertise for the most part in the new world, 1 foot in the new world. Why? Because they've just been educated in CRISPR gene editing and have experimented with it themselves, or they've worked in the industry.
Not only that, Wood capitalizes on the rise of social media like Twitter and Reddit. Wood realizes she could do what GitHub did to software by making her research openly available.
In the investment world, a lot of fund managers like to pretend to be sophisticated, often hiding their so-called proprietary research. It is because they don't want you to see through them.
By 2018, she was still rather unknown in the investment world. But that is about to change.
I've got to start with Tesla because for months now you have said this is a $4,000 stock. Given all the drama over the last few weeks, do you still think that?
Yes.
That is a 1,100% increase from its price at the time. At the time, Tesla struggled to produce enough Model 3s. Tesla's CEO, Elon Musk, even sleeps in the factory, trying to solve the production issue. Cathie Wood's optimistic forecast of Tesla's future is widely ridiculed. By 2021, Tesla has surpassed her price target, 2 years ahead of her forecast. While she was dismissed by the establishment in 2019, there is one group of investors taking notice of Cathie Wood. By 2019, there are nearly 5 billion people online. On Reddit alone, there are 430 million users.
Since the financial crisis, people have grown more and more distrustful of Wall Street.
It's just that the investment banking profession will sell shit as long as shit can be sold.
On Reddit, many retail investors start gathering to share research and make investments countering that of Wall Street. By 2019, the movement is still small, lacking funds and momentum. But a historical event will forever change that.
We saw our third trading halt in just 6 sessions right at the open, a 15-minute halt with the S&P down 7%. As President Trump said, coronavirus may be an issue through July or August.
A quorum is present. The motion is adopted.
COVID-19 was a pivotal moment in the American economy. All of a sudden, you have trillions of newly printed cash injected into the system.
Many trading platforms immediately capitalized on this change.
We're focused on building an awesome user experience.
Onboarding something like 150,000 customers in such a short period of time is pretty much unprecedented in the brokerage industry.
A few $1,000s wealthier, the apes of the Reddit community finally have the resources to take on Wall Street.
You're witnessing the French Revolution of finance, where the proletariat is rising up to change the order structure in finance. And they're able to do that because they have costless data, they have costless trading.
As a woman who is often underestimated by Wall Street, Cathie Wood becomes the icon of the retail investors. The world is changing. Since 2008, America has enjoyed over 10 years of a bull market. Driven by innovation, the finance industry is undergoing a drastic shift. Cathie Wood is the face of this change. Driven by relentless passion, Cathie Wood turned a middle-class upbringing into her own empire. For the past 3 years, many of her predictions have come true, or are coming true. But her strategy is still volatile, and the market remains to be unforgiving, as ARK investors are about to find out.
It's a new piece from Barron's highlighting that investors have pulled a net $2.7 billion from the funds since the end of June.
By the beginning of 2021, ARK had a 14% drop to date.
A 14% drop in market value is not something that an index fund investor can tolerate.
But not the disciples of Cathie Wood.
And here we are a volatile strategy.
Right.
And our response was, well, volatility on the upside is not a bad thing.
Right.
It took a lot to get people's attention because they thought we were too risky, too crazy. And I see now it's coming full circle because I hear that again, but it's much less risky than we believe the benchmarks are. The benchmarks are filling up with value traps because the innovation platforms, there are 5 of them, and they involve 14 different technologies that are all taking off right now. They are going to disrupt and disintermediate the traditional world order. So I think the big risk is in the benchmarks, not what we're doing.
But it is a mistake to dismiss her as some lucky stock picker. For one, she has that quality of a disciplined portfolio manager.
Although Cathie Wood has strong faith in Tesla, she doesn't allow it to be more than 10% of her portfolio.
But when a stock gets to 11 or 12% in the portfolio, it means that it has appreciated by 10 to 20% relative to the other positions in the portfolio. And usually what we're doing is being opportunistic and taking advantage of a drop in a stock.
Cathie is not hesitant to exit a position when the fundamentals of the business change.
Today, Cathie Wood remains to be a controversial figure. Unlike her days at Bernstein, Cathie Wood may have finally found a business model that works for her, and a group of extremely loyal followers that will stick with her for the long run.
这期影片呢，我找的是 Phineas 制作的纪录片哦。那因为考虑到可能有的新观众呢未必熟悉加密货币，所以这一期呢我们没有讲那么多的加密货币。但如果你看完这支影片，你觉得很欣赏 Cathie Wood， 然后你未来也想看到他更多的一些新的资讯，例如他们发布的什么新的报告等等的，也欢迎你在底下订阅、按赞，然后留言让我知道。那最近这几期的影片呢，都是翻译类型的影片，不知道大家喜不喜欢哦？那主要的原因呢，也是因为币圈菜篮最近呢在筹备一些事情，也许呢很快就有好消息可以跟大家分享。以上呢就是本集全部的内容，希望大家喜欢哦。那币圈不怕新，菜篮也能行，各位投资朋友们，我们就下次影片再见啦，拜拜。